I moved to New Mexico for peace and inspiration. I was 32, living alone. The adobe houses and wide-open sky felt right. I settled into a home with an overgrown yard and cracked walls. It was cozy enough, but the place had its quirks. On my second night, I looked out the window to admire the stars. That was when I saw it, a flickering light from the empty house next door. It pulsed like it was calling me. I picked up my camera, but something stopped me. Maybe it was just my imagination. For a week, the light didn't stop. It blinked in a strange rhythm. At night, I began to hear soft thuds, like footsteps. I tried to ignore it. It was probably just the wind, I told myself. But deep down, I felt something wasn't right. One night, a loud thump jolted me awake. My heart raced. I wanted to hide under my blankets, but curiosity pulled me to the window. The light was still flickering. Then I saw it. A shadow darted past the window. I felt a chill. It wasn't an animal, it was too fast. The next day, I found an old scrapbook in my closet. It was dusty, hidden away. I flipped through the pages. They were filled with stories from people who lived in my house before. Whispers in the night, flickering lights, shadows with a mind of their own. Each story made my stomach twist. Was this all a prank the townsfolk set up? I couldn't shake the feeling it was more than that. As the days passed, I felt watched. I could barely focus on my photography. The light and the footsteps kept bothering me. The night felt heavier. I began to doubt my own reality. Was I losing my mind? I didn't know. One night, I gathered courage and stepped outside. I walked over to the empty house. I knocked on the door. No answer. The door was slightly ajar. It felt like it was inviting me in, so I pushed it open. The air was cold and quiet. I called out, but got no response, just silence. Then I heard a voice. It was faint, almost a whisper. It said, "Why are you here?" I spun around, my heart racing. There was nobody there. The hair on my arms stood up. I wanted to leave, but felt rooted to the spot. Suddenly, the flickering light caught my eye. I stepped back, my breath quickening. A shadow moved in the corner of my vision, darting away from the light. I hesitated, then turned to the door. My instincts screamed at me to run. I didn't look back as I bolted out of that eerie house. Once safe in my home, I locked the door. The light blinked steadily next door. I could hear those soft thuds again, but now they felt louder. I didn't go to sleep that night. I stayed awake, staring out into the dark, waiting, listening, wondering what it all meant. The next day, I decided to research the history of the empty house next door. Maybe there was something in the stories that could explain the flickering light and those whispering voices. I ventured into the small library in town, hoping to find old records. The librarian was a kind woman with gray hair, and she looked familiar with the locals. "I'm looking for information about the house next door to mine," I said, trying to sound casual. "I've heard some strange things." Her face changed. She frowned and shook her head slowly. "That house has a long history, dear. People don't last long in it." Her tone was grave. "Why? What happened?" She glanced around as if someone might hear. "It's best not to talk about it openly," she whispered. "But the last owner went missing. The neighbors heard noises, strange lights, similar to what you're describing. No one could find him." A knot formed in my stomach. I turned to leave, but she called out, "There's an old newspaper article in the archives. It might have more details." I spent the rest of the afternoon digging through dusty boxes. The faint smell of aging paper mixed with something else I couldn't place, something unsettling. Finally, I found it, a yellowed article about the disappearance of the last owner, accompanied by mysterious events tied to the house. The headline read, "Local man vanishes without a trace." My pulse quickened as I read how neighbors reported strange occurrences leading up to his disappearance. Lights flickering, voices echoing, and shadows darting across the windows. Every detail mirrored my experiences. I felt breathless. I wasn't just being paranoid. There was something real here. That night, I resolved to confront the light again. I felt like I had to know the truth, to delve deeper into this mystery. I took a flashlight, hoping it would ward off whatever unseen force was threatening me. As I stepped outside, the air was cooler than usual, and the night sky was filled with stars, twinkling eerily as if they were watching. I felt the weight of the darkness around me. I approached the empty house once more. My heart raced as I reached the door. It was still ajar. Taking a deep breath, I pushed it open and felt a chill creep up my spine. The whispers echoed in my mind. "Why are you here?" It was standing there, hanging in the air, as if the house itself was alive with questions. Inside, the flickering light drew my attention again. It was brighter this time, illuminating the dusty living room. I followed it, feeling a strange pull as I moved deeper inside. The light pulsed, as if trying to communicate. It felt alive. Then I heard the thuds. They were rhythmic now, echoing from the back of the house. I took slow steps toward the sound, each one heavier than the last. Suddenly, a flash of darkness swept across the floor, darting past me. I whirled around, but nothing was there. My breath quickened, panic clawing at my throat. That's when I noticed something lying in the corner, partly hidden by a tattered curtain. I moved closer, and my heart sank. It was a camera. My camera. I hadn't even realized it was missing. A sense of dread washed over me. I picked it up, trembling. As I turned it on, the screen flickered to life, showing me images I didn't take. Images of the empty house, the yard, and shadows creeping in the corners. I held my breath as I realized someone was watching me from behind the lens. My heart raced. I backed away from the camera, almost dropping it in my panic. Whoever had taken these pictures had been in my house, watching me, while I was oblivious. I was not alone. The pulsating light flickered more violently, as if reacting to my fear. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to collect my thoughts. I could hear the thuds again, louder now, closer. I opened my eyes and remembered the whispers. They were no longer vague echoes, they were clearer, more insistent. "Help us," they seemed to say, drifting through the air. I shook my head, denying it. I didn't want to be involved. Angry and scared, I yelled into the darkness, "Leave me alone!" The ground shook, or maybe it was just my heart. The floor creaked beneath my feet. I turned and sprinted toward the door, adrenaline propelling me forward. Just as I reached for the knob, I felt a tug on my shirt. My breath caught in my throat. I spun around, but no one was there. "Go!" I shouted again, my voice echoing through the empty house. But the lights dipped low, and the shadows gathered, swirling like a storm. A figure emerged at the edge of the light, shrouded in darkness. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I stood frozen. "Please." The figure's voice was barely audible, but the desperation in it was chilling. "You have to help us." I was losing it. This couldn't be happening. I slammed the door open and ran into the night. The cool air hit me like a wave, and I didn't stop until I reached my own front porch. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out the muffled whispers that seemed to follow me even there. I stumbled into my living room, locking the door behind me. I leaned against it, breathless and shaking. I glanced at my camera again, still clutched in my hand. It felt both like a lifeline and a cursed object. What had I uncovered? I sat on the couch, trembling, and analyzed the photos. snapshots of shadows, movement caught at the corners of the lens. My own face, pale and terrified, staring back at me from a late-night capture. Then I noticed one more thing. Taped to the bottom of the camera was a small note in scratchy handwriting. "They need you. Find the truth." The dread settled deeper in my stomach. Who were they, and what truth was I supposed to find? I felt the walls of my house closing in as I remembered the flickering light and the rhythmic thuds. I had opened a door I couldn't close. That's when I heard it. At first, faint, a soft knocking at the window behind me. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my gut once more. With every breath, the shadows from the empty house seemed to creep closer. I was about to face whatever had been living next door. Someone, or something, wanted in. I stared at the window, my heart thundering. The knocking persisted, a steady pattern that felt almost rhythmic. Whoever, or whatever, was out there was patient, waiting for me. My instincts screamed for me to move, to hide, but my feet felt glued to the floor. The knocking stopped, and a deep silence enveloped the room. I held my breath, waiting for something to shatter the quiet. Just as I began to relax my shoulders, a slow, deliberate scratch echoed against the glass. It was a sound I couldn't ignore. I took a cautious step toward the window and peered through the curtains. Nothing. Just the dim glow of porch lights casting long shadows on the lawn. I felt foolish for even considering the idea that I might see someone there, but dread carved deeper lines into my chest. That's when I noticed something on the ground in front of the window, a small object glinting in the light. I leaned closer, squinting to see. It was a key. My heart dropped. Why would a key be outside my window? A chill crawled up my spine. My mind raced with possibilities. Could it belong to the figure I saw earlier? I turned back to grab the camera again. My fingers trembled as I flipped through the photos one more time. The faces, those shadowed outlines, were back. I leaned in closer. A detail emerged that I missed before. One of the figures had a distinctive mark on its hand, a tattoo of some kind. It was barely visible, just a blur on the edge of the frame, but it sent a jolt of recognition through me. I stumbled back. I knew that mark. It belonged to a boy from my neighborhood, a boy who had gone missing almost a year ago. The thought hit me like a brick. What if these whispers were his? What if he was somehow trapped in that murky darkness, trying to reach out for help? His silent scream caught on my camera? I clutched the camera like a lifeline. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to know more. Maybe the key outside the window was meant for me, a way to unlock whatever door was keeping these lost souls trapped. Just then, the scratching resumed, this time louder. It was joined by a frantic banging. My heart raced again, and cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Someone was on the other side of the window, and they didn't just want in, they were desperate. "Help us! You have to help us!" The voice rang out again, echoing in the silence, stronger than before. All the instincts to flee scrambled with a newfound determination. I had to confront what was on the other side. My grip tightened on the key. Summoning my courage, I pulled the curtain aside. But when I looked out, my breath hitched. The face staring back wasn't human. It was a grotesque mask of shadows and desperation. I could barely make out the features, but those eyes, wide and pleading, felt undeniably familiar. I knew who it was, and I was about to find out why he needed me. I felt the breath leave my lungs. The figure at the window, twisted in anguish, was unmistakable. Ethan, the boy who had vanished without a trace. Those eyes that once sparkled with life were now sunken and haunted. I had seen the news reports, the flyers plastered around town, but nothing prepared me for this. "Ethan?" I whispered, barely able to form his name. The scratching intensified. Instead of retreating, he pressed against the glass, fingers stretching out as if yearning for contact. "Help us, please!" His voice trembled, but the urgency was clear. Each word felt like a needle pricking at my resolve. I stepped back from the window, shaken. I glanced at the key in my hand. What if it could unlock more than just a physical door? For a moment, rational thought wavered. It felt as if fate had cast me into this surreal nightmare. "Ethan, what's happening? Where are you?" I managed to ask, my voice almost swallowed by fear. His response was a strangled sort of half laugh, half cry. "I didn't choose this. We didn't choose this." Shadows flickered around him, swirling like smoke, as if they were alive, eager to pull him back into darkness. "You have to come for us. There's no time." I hesitated, mind racing. What did that mean? Who else was with him? My thoughts spiraled into chaos. I wanted to bolt, but I sensed that doing so would leave Ethan trapped. Suddenly, the wind howled outside, shaking the glass. "There's a door. You can find it, but you have to hurry." His words hung in the air, and I knew what I needed to decide. I glanced around my room, searching for something, anything that could help. The camera lay open on my desk. It had captured something, the figures, the mark on Ethan's hand. If this was linked to the missing boy, maybe it could lead me to the others. In that moment, I made up my mind. I would face whatever awaited me outside. But as I turned back to the window, the figure of Ethan began to fade. "No, don't go!" I shouted, lunging toward him. My fist slammed against the glass, heart racing. But he dissolved into shadows, the haunting plea echoing in my ears. "Help us!" Everything around me went still. In the silence, I heard something, a low thud from my closet. I froze. Dread pooled in my stomach. I backed away slowly, eyes locked on the door. Something was in there with me. Maybe something I had summoned by even acknowledging this twisted reality. And then it happened. The closet door swung open on its own, creaking as if awakening from a deep slumber. That's when I saw it. A glimmer in the darkness, unmistakably familiar. A tattoo, just like the one I saw in the photograph. This was worse than I imagined. Someone or something was trying to pull me into the same fate as Ethan. I barely had time to process what I saw before another thud sounded, louder this time, reverberating off the walls of my room. My heart raced, tracking the sound like a panicked metronome. The glimmer in the closet caught the dim light, flickering like a candle about to go out. Before I could think twice, I took a step closer. I had to know what it was. Maybe it held the answers to Ethan's plea. Maybe it connected me to this nightmare. But the closer I got, the more the air thickened around me, pressing down like a suffocating blanket. I edged the closet door open wider. Inside, the darkness was a living thing, shifting and curling away as if I was intruding. A small box sat on the floor, partially hidden beneath a pile of old clothes. I reached down with trembling hands, the fabric cold and musty against my skin. Just then, another voice pierced through my thoughts, familiar yet distorted. "You shouldn't be here." I whipped around, scanning the room. I was alone, but I could feel something. Presence, weight, a watchful eye. Fear clawed at me. I wanted to run, but the box tugged at my curiosity. I forced myself to lift it. It felt heavier than it should have, almost as if it contained a secret. Trembling, I opened it. Inside lay a collection of photographs. My breath huffed out in disbelief. faces stared up at me from various angles, a lineup of lost souls. Each wore the same tattoo I had seen on Ethan and the figure in the closet. I flipped through them in a frenzy, recognition dawning with each turn. They were the missing children from our town. My heart sank. This couldn't be happening. I shoved the box back in the closet, hiding it from sight, as if that would erase the truth. I stumbled back, desperate to shake off the feeling of eyes boring into me. Then, a sudden chill swept through the room. The temperature dropped, and my breath formed mist. I turned toward the window. The glass pane vibrated violently, and I saw that figure again. Ethan. His face, once gaunt and hopeless, now looked angry. "You're running out of time." I swallowed hard, frozen in place. "Ethan, please, I'm trying to help." As I reached for the window, a blinding flash pulled my gaze away. The light flickered, revealing a silhouette standing behind me. My stomach lodged in my throat. I had forgotten the closet. My instinct screamed to move. I spun around. The door sat ajar, darkness pooling around it. I stumbled backward, adrenaline surging through me. The figure emerged, stepping into the light, but it was shrouded in shadow, a faceless form that seemed like a reflection of my deepest fears. "Stop!" I shouted, panic clawing at my throat. The figure didn't answer, but held out a hand, its fingers elongated and grotesque. Everything in me flared with instinct to run. I backed away, but my body was trapped, anchored by the gravity of what I knew. This being was tied to the others, tied to Ethan. My pulse thudded in my ears, drowning out everything else. What did it want from me? Before I could grasp my next move, a whisper cascaded through the air, so soft it was nearly drowned out by the wind. "Find the door before it finds you." The shadows surged forward, and I bolted, mind racing. I had no idea where to go, but I had to find that door. The door that could end this nightmare or plunge me deeper. I sprinted down the hall, not daring to look back. My heart pounded wildly as I felt the cold breath of the shadows trailing behind me. Each footfall echoed, amplifying my terror. I couldn't shake that unknowable presence, the faceless figure that lingered like a curse. I needed to find that door, whatever it was. I rushed into the living room, scanning for an escape. The walls seemed to close in, like a maze that shifted around me with every heartbeat. Desperation clawed at my throat. I could picture Ethan's face, the anger and fear swimming in his eyes. I wasn't about to let whatever that thing was take me too. A flicker from the corner of my eye caught my attention. I turned to see the hallway light dim, a signal of something lurking just out of sight. My instincts screamed at me to stay away, but I pushed forward, drawn to the flickering light. It felt like a beacon amidst the shadows. I approached cautiously, every sound amplified, my breath, the creaking floorboards beneath my feet. I reached for the light switch, pausing as I felt the tug of the darkness behind me. I flipped it on. The room flooded with light, chasing away the shadows momentarily. And there it was, a door I had never noticed before, slightly ajar, as if inviting me to discover its secrets. It wasn't the door I had imagined. This one looked old and warped, the wood splintered and peeling, as though it had always been there but forgotten. I hesitated. What lay beyond that door? Was it a way out or another trap? I glanced back toward the hallway, and that chill returned, crawling up my spine. My decision needed to be made. Just as I took a step toward the door, a loud crash erupted behind me. My heart nearly stopped. I whipped around, my breathing erratic. The shadows surged again, rippling with an energy that sent shockwaves through me. I realized the figure was no longer just a shadow. It was manifesting, solidifying, the void coalescing into something that looked too much like a twisted version of myself. I was terrified. That voice from before whispered again, warning me of its reach. Time's running out. I stared into the face of my fears, not wanting to accept that it was a reflection of everything I had tried to suppress. I turned back to the door and pushed it open, my heart racing with dread. It creaked open, revealing a dim staircase that spiraled down into the darkness, the air thick with anticipation. Faint whispers drifted up from below, sweet yet chilling. I had no choice. I took a breath and stepped into the unknown, each footfall heavier than the last. The darkness welcomed me, wrapping around me like a shroud as I climbed down, leaving behind the light and everything I once knew. Then I heard it, a voice in that darkness, familiar and urgent. "You shouldn't have come here." Panic shot through me. I had plunged deeper into a maze of nightmares, and now I was more lost than ever. What awaited me below? I could only hope I hadn't made a mistake too grave to escape. I stepped down the final stair, my foot hitting a cold stone floor. The air felt different here, thicker, charged with something I couldn't understand. I tried to focus on the voice that had reached out to me. It echoed again, a low hum of warning. "Turn back," it urged, but I couldn't turn back now, not while that thing followed me. A shiver ran down my spine as I scanned the shadows surrounding me. They seemed to dance in subtle patterns, taunting me. A flicker of light caught my attention. I walked toward it, cautiously at first. It glowed at the far end of the room, a dull, flickering bulb hanging low, casting eerie shadows that twisted across the walls. Straining to see more, I noticed words carved into the stone, faded and worn. They looked like names, long forgotten, each one a silent testimony to those who had been trapped here before me. "What is this place?" I whispered to myself, pressing my fingers against the rough surface, feeling every ridge and dip of the inscriptions. Each name sent a chill through me. I felt overwhelmed by the weight of their stories, their despair. Suddenly, those whispers returned, louder this time, swirling around my head like a chaotic storm. I clutched my ears, trying to block them out, but one name echoed above all the rest: Ethan. Panic surged as I recalled his face, his desperate warnings. "Don't look back." Why did that name haunt me here? As I pulled myself from my thoughts, something shifted in the shadows. I turned, ready to flee, but from the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A figure loomed in the darkness, just beyond the reach of the flickering light. Ethan?" I called, my voice trembling. The figure paused, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. But then it stepped back into the darkness, morphing into smoke. I blinked, bewildered. Was it truly him, or some illusion crafted by this place? I took a step back, and that nameless dread returned, deepening as the whispers escalated. They spoke of mistakes, of choices, the kind of choices that could trap someone for eternity. Just then, a loud crash erupted from somewhere deeper inside the darkness, startling me. Heart racing. "Someone's here," a cold voice whispered from the depths. "You shouldn't have come." That voice wasn't Ethan's, and it pierced through me like ice. The shadows shifted again, this time forming into shapes of figures that seemed to lunge forward, reaching for me. I stumbled back, panic clawing at my throat. I couldn't stay. The whispers grew more desperate, warning of a fate worse than what I had already experienced. I bolted towards the narrow passage leading to the light, every instinct screaming to escape. But as I ran, I heard a familiar sound behind me, a gut-wrenching mix of laughter and sorrow that twisted itself into my memories. My heart sank as I realized I was being hunted, the shadows closing in on every side. I reached the flickering bulb, the light flickering wildly, casting shadows that swirled like a living thing. Just as I reached for the wall, desperate to find a way out, the light went out completely. Everything went dark. In that instant, I knew the chase had only just begun. I stumbled into the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. The absence of light wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, suffocating and disorienting. I felt my way along the cold stone wall, knees trembling beneath me. I took a breath and stood still, trying to listen. The laughter I'd heard was gone, replaced by an unsettling silence, as if the shadows paused to catch their breath. I squinted into the void, hoping for that flickering light to reappear, but the darkness felt oppressive and alive. A sound broke through, soft, deliberate footsteps echoing on the stone. They weren't mine. Panic surged again, a fresh wave threatening to overwhelm me. I pressed my back against the wall, willing myself to melt into the cold stone. But I couldn't stay still too long. The footsteps were coming closer. Desperate to escape, I took a tentative step forward, my foot brushing against something that felt like a stone slab. Curiosity pricked through my fear. I knelt to feel the object, knowing I shouldn't, but something compelled me to explore. My hands glided across its surface, rough but solid. I focused hard, trying to make sense of it. "Please," I whispered into the thick silence, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" In response, a low growl echoed through the space. It was deep and guttural, sending a fresh jolt of terror through me. I sprang to my feet, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I needed to move. I turned in the direction of the footsteps, something tugging at me, urging me onward. I stumbled forward, heart racing, the growling growing louder. Then, to my shock, I found myself standing before a doorway, barely visible in the dim light. It was ajar, a thin sliver opening up to another room beyond. A sliver of hope ignited within me. I pushed the door open and slipped through, the growling fading slightly, replaced by a rush of wind that carried whispers with it. I stood frozen, taking in the new space. This room felt like a tomb, heavy with anticipation. Forms shifted in the corners of my vision, and I had that same feeling again, that I was being watched. I took a deep breath, forcing my feet to move toward another flickering light on the opposite side of the room. As I approached, I realized it came from a small lamp on a table. The lamp illuminated a journal sprawled open next to a wilted flower. Intrigued, I reached for it, scanning the pages scattered with frantic handwriting. Names filled the pages, the same names carved into the walls of the other room. I felt a jolt of recognition. "Ethan," I murmured, tracing his name with a trembling finger. Suddenly, the growling returned, but it roared now, echoing through the chamber with a ferocity that shook the walls. Panic hit me like ice water. I glanced over my shoulder, and there in the doorway stood a figure. I couldn't see its face, just the outline, a shadow darker than the darkness around it. "Leave," it hissed, a voice layered with anger and despair. I barely had time to think. Instinct kicked in, pushing me to flee. I turned back toward the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. The growl grew louder, and the shadows converged, closing in on me. With nowhere else to go, I turned back to the journal, my mind racing. That was when I saw it, a phrase under Ethan's name, scrawled wildly across the page. "Only one can escape." A terrible knowledge sank in. That was the truth behind this place. As the shadows pressed closer, I realized that what followed me might not just be inescapable, it might already be part of me. I slammed the journal shut, my thoughts racing faster than my heartbeat. The enormity of what I'd read crushed down on me. Only one can escape. The words twisted in my mind like a tormenting melody I couldn't shake. What did it mean? Was it a warning or a desperate plea? The growling intensified. I whirled around, instinct screaming to flee, but the only exit was barred. The figure loomed larger, its shadow stretching unnaturally along the walls. I could feel something pulling at me, a magnetic force that threatened to drag me back to the darkness I had just barely fled. I turned away from the growing threat, panic surging again as my eyes darted around the dim room, desperate for an escape. The flickering lamp cast unsettling shadows across the walls, and amidst the chaos, something caught my eye. A small door nestled behind the table, almost hidden from view. It was battered and worn, but a narrow beam of light spilled through the cracks. Maybe it would lead me to safety. Only one can escape. The thought echoed through my mind, laced with desperation. Gripping the edges of the table, I steadied myself. I could hear the growls seething behind me, a deep, mocking laugh twisting around the phrase like a noose. I squeezed my eyes shut for a second, forcing myself to focus. There was no time for hesitation. I charged toward the small door, fumbling with the handle as the growling escalated into a deafening roar. The shadows clawed at my heels, and I could sense something reaching for me, trying to grasp hold of my sanity, my essence. My fingers finally found the handle, and I twisted it with all my strength. The door cracked open, revealing a blinding light that poured into the darkness. It was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the dread that came before. Without a second thought, I threw myself through the opening. Light enveloped me, swirling like a tempest. It felt like I was falling, weightless, drowning in luminescence. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the worst. This has to be it. I felt the truth of those words lose its weight as I floated, suspended in an unknowable void where time felt meaningless. A familiar voice broke through the haze, plucking at the chords of my memory. A soft whisper echoing the unbearable urgency I'd felt before. "Find us," it pleaded, and I strained against the light, now a flurry of images flashing before my mind. As the brightness dimmed, I felt the ground solidify beneath me. I opened my eyes to a completely different scene. I was back in my living room, knees trembling, heart pounding in my ears. The sun streamed through the windows, a golden light that felt too warm, too real. But everything felt wrong. I blinked rapidly, trying to orient myself. I could still hear faint whispers swirling in the air, though the intensity had lessened. Had I escaped? Confusion gripped me as I scanned the room. Nothing seemed out of place, yet shadows lingered at the edges of my vision, haunting reminders of what I had just faced. But there was a difference. I felt lighter, almost free of that oppressive weight. As I looked down, something caught my eye. The camera lay on the floor, its lens cracked. My heart raced as I remembered the frantic last images it had captured. I picked it up, trembling. Focusing on the screen, I found it still had one lingering photograph, a shadow lurking just outside the light. I dropped the camera, my breathing shallow. What had I really escaped from? The laughter echoed again, but this time I understood it. It wasn't just despair. It was a mix of anguish and relief. I had evaded the grasp of something ancient and terrible, yet I was still tethered to it, no matter how hard I tried to deny it. Suddenly, a knock resonated through the house, a familiar rhythmic sound. I turned to the window, heart racing again, and gasped. A figure stood on my porch, its features obscured in shadow. My breath caught, remembering the warning. Stricken with dread, I tried to back away, but something inside urged me forward. Fear might have dominated my instincts, but I thought of Ethan, of the others. What would they have done? They needed my help. What if that final warning echoed within me? Only one can escape didn't mean that one must sacrifice another. Perhaps it encompassed a choice to stand against whatever twisted fate haunted this world. Steeling my nerves, I opened the door. The figure stood still, gentle sunlight illuminating their face, revealing a familiar boy with familiar eyes. "Ethan," I whispered, the names spilling from my lips. But those eyes held a new kind of resolve. "Did you find the door?" he asked softly, almost as if he already knew the answer. I took a breath, bracing for whatever lay ahead. I might have escaped from one shadowed reality, but Ethan and those like him were still trapped somewhere. But in that moment, I knew their whispers were not just pleas for help. They were indications of hope. And as I stepped outside, I realized it was only just beginning.